come here, and every time the warm feeling just oozes out. And it's because of Bonnie. Bonnie's personality and Bonnie's presence of doing this just is the right feel. It just is right. And it's brought an organization to a place that I think we're all very proud of and very much need in Maine right now. So Bonnie, thank you. This is going to be a view from, I don't know, 10,000 feet. I'm not sure what the height is, but I'm going to kind of fly above things for a little bit and take a look at, unfortunately, when you lived as long as I have, you've been through a lot of different kind of ups and downs and seen a lot of stuff. So I'd like to share that with you, but put it in the perspective of us thinking about what it is that we want to have happen in Maine in food-wise. Agriculture, food production, and marketing have been part of my being for as long as I can remember. And as part of that, I have seen firsthand how the way we go about producing our food can have a healthy, positive effect on the land, individuals, communities, or as well how food policies can be part of losing, dare I say, destroying farms, healthy communities. I've seen both. My parents purchased a small, diversified farm in Allen County, Ohio when I was 4 years old. The best thing that ever happened to me. That was in 1941. Yeah, folks, I'm old. Both of my parents had grown up on farms, and the call back to the soil was strong. So we moved from a comfortable in-town house to no electricity, no running water, but a spectacular farmhouse and a 4-year-old's magic of a post and beam barn, a stream that ran through the fields that would set my life's course. And neighbors up and down the road, operating farms of about the same size as ours, wanting to be of help, as well as hoping we would be of help to them. It became home to about 20 Guernsey milk cows, 100 Western ewes, as we call them, crossbred sheep, fields that produced feed for the animals, large gardens to feed ourselves, plus provide the product for the farm roadside stand. Yep, there was a roadside stand back in 1941. And there were chickens. Oh yes, Mother's chickens. Mother was in charge of 250 Rhode Island Reds producing eggs for the local hatchery. The farm was the project of my parents with input of my grandfathers from time to time. Their philosophy was right on, and of course I didn't know it. But we were part of making sure that we were part of the wildlife, that the soil that we needed to be learning how to be best partners so we can be best partners with Mother Nature. The writings of Louis Bromfield were a topic commonly in discussions at our table. And I find a lot of young people don't know about Louis Bromfield, but look up Malabar Farm, the farm. And we just left a session talking about soils, and certainly Louis Bromfield was involved in that now back in the early 50s. Crop rotation, mechanical weed control, almost no use of chemicals. Looking back, I found there were only 12 registered pesticides back at that point. There were 12. Now I looked it up and there's now like 1,500. We did not know the word organic, but the farm operated for the most part on what today we do call organic farming. There was an infrastructure, and this is important, I think relates to what we're talking about right now. There was an infrastructure that marketed the milk, the wool, the lamb, the grains. Farms up and down the road in this Allen County, Ohio, prospered. So did the community. A key aspect of the success for the small farms was a marketing infrastructure. I make that up or bring that up because I think it's important as we think about our future, about this structure. The local dairy took care of our milk. There was an easy operation to sell eggs, lamb, wool, beef, and even some of the vegetables. So marketing was really important. We had a system that supported local agriculture taking place on small farms. We had healthy communities, healthy soils, but then the hammer fell. There was a major change in U.S. farm policy, and farmers were told, you need to change. We have the chemicals, the pesticides. There is an amazing wide world out there that needs corn and soybeans, and oh yes, we we found out how to make high fructose corn syrup. Forget about local. It was horrific watching the break apart of the farms in our neighborhood. To watch farmers overextend to buy more land, huge expensive equipment, and then watch them go bankrupt. Somehow, I'm not quite sure how, our family farm did not get involved, and unto this day it is such a pleasure when I go back to Allen County to drive by and remember. We remember this history as we look at what we want to have happen in Maine. The crash that happened was awful. It was so bad. The town that I lived near was called Lima, Ohio. And National Public Television did a documentary called Lost in Middle America. For me, the farm had provided the place of some good things, a lot of good things. I learned how to love the land and the soil, as we just were talking about next door. There was a place that stimulated my imagination, my curiosity. It was the base that led me to continue my studies towards a degree in cell biology and biochemistry. As we were talking about next door, we experimented with the amazing microbiology of the soil. Wow, photosynthesis, what is that about? And how do those sheep eat grass and actually use it? All of those things, and I want to emphasize this because our natural settings are such a wonderful place for education. It was for me, and I think it still is for all of our people and young people that are now growing up in this environment. Oh yes, I did get a little bit overboard because I tipped over my homemade laboratory in the smokehouse and burned it down. Dad didn't appreciate that too much. Let's now fast forward from the 1950s to 1969. I came to Maine to join the faculty of a small college. I loved the opportunity, I loved the students, it was fantastic. But the imprint of the farm was strong. So I convinced my city-born wife and 3 children to buy a 65-acre farm. I was thrilled that you could still find small farms in Maine. And I wanted to be part of seeing if food production, healthy living, and healthy communities could all be used in the same sentence. A quick look at some of the aspects of the history of Maine agriculture may be appropriate today as we think about a new year and where we're headed. Maine production built to a crescendo in the late 30s and early 40s. And during that period, the dollars spent in Maine, 90% of the food dollars spent in Maine in that period of time was for Maine-grown and processed foods. 90%. We not only fed ourselves, but over 40 canning factories around the state shipped peas, corn, squash, green beans, sardines around the world. I encourage you to visit your local historic museum and ask what they may have about the canning industry or about local agriculture from that time. I found some amazing, interesting things that happened in the museum, both in Brunswick and Yarmouth. I found collections of canned labels and bills of lading, and fascinating history of what was happening in Maine agriculture back in that time, really a heyday. I came across a picture taken at the annual meeting of the Maine Canners Association, taken back in the late 1930s, and there was about 100 plus or minus, all men of course, most in bow ties, that gathered in Scarborough for their annual convention. A sort of memorial to that time in our history can also be seen if you drive down Brunswick, cross the bridge from Thompson, head up towards the college. Keep your eye out for the building on the right. It's a two-story building with big columns in front. If you stop and look up carefully at the top, you'll see some engraved into the columns at the top some gently peeled ears of corn. The reason that they're there is that building was the home office of the Snowflake Canning Company. But that was to change. The mega farms of the West and the Midwest took over the canning operations. We began to see the change in the way food was marketed in Maine. Supermarkets came to arrive with the connection with the mega farms. Local grocery stores began to disappear, and we had a complete reversal of the numbers. In a very short period of time, not more than 25 years, we had gone from 90% of the dollars being spent in Maine for local produced and processed foods to 10% of the dollars being spent on food in Maine that was from local sources. The infrastructure for marketing Maine products, except for potatoes, milk, a couple of others, was gone. And then something happened. early 1970s, late 60s, we actually had the farm going on then, and we're part of this. We put up a roadside stand, and then we had a cape house that was hooked to an L, to a big posted beam barn. So my kids are really into it now. So we converted the L part into a farm stand. So, had a big new driveway in front, so you could open up and there you were. The public had an interest in local, fresh, healthy, good-tasting food. Something was about to happen. But the infrastructure was not there. Slowly, farmers markets, CSAs, things like Miranda's operation began to happen. Progress was slow, and we began to slowly turn an interest that was in the general public into quality food. Slow Money, Maine, and like organizations are making a difference. But it's been a hard drive to move the needle. Information indicates that we have gone from 10% to maybe 18% of the dollars spent on food in Maine going for locally grown and processed foods. There are indications we have opportunities and certainly needs. For example, USDA, this is a need, USDA ranks Maine as the 8th most at-risk state in the union to feed ourselves. The 8th most at risk. Part of that is a lack of structure of getting food from the farm to the consumer. Also built in that number, I must say, is the fact that we have a rather large population that face food insecurity. Those are the two things that make up that number. So we have our work cut out for us. I look at the opportunity like a bow tie. Some people have said you're really crazy somewhere, but I'm going to try it on you. The bow tie has two wings, of course. One wing is production, and we are doing amazing things. One of only a half dozen states in the union with more farmers than we had 8 years ago. So that side of the bow tie is looking good. The other wing is the consumers that have been reported to spend several billions of dollars a year on food in Maine. I've seen numbers ranging all over the place, so let's use a conservative number of $3 billion spent on food in Maine a year by everything. Some have put as high as 6. And with your ideas that you're bringing forward here today, and will bring forward this year, over the next few years, let's see if we can increase that percent from where it is now to 20%. Still, that means we're importing 2/3 of the food we eat. If we did that, it's over $500 million in economic growth to the state of Maine, providing open spaces, providing places to educate little 4-year-olds, providing things that can happen in good ways. Can we do it? And can we do it our way with small businesses and farms running, making it work? Maine has a tremendous asset in making this happen. It is our young people. I believe it's our young people. They have a mission, and we've seen it over and over again, of young people who had no connection with agriculture. One of the things that always strikes me is MAFCA has their intern program, and somewhere between 150 and 200 young people are right now, more than that, are applying for jobs. Right today, or yesterday it was, Seth Kreck had at Crystal Spring Farm in Brunswick had 2 interns, one coming from Kansas because they heard what's going on in Maine, and one was from New Hampshire, but coming to interview, that he was interviewing to see if they could be part of the operation that he runs at Crystal Spring Farm. As part of this, I want to call your attention to an event that we started last year. Slow Money Maine was a partner in this process. We created something called Maine Food Innovation Challenge. It was to invite people with ideas to come to Bowdoin for the weekend, to work on their idea, and to make a presentation to a set of judges on a Sunday afternoon. And we had $16,000 to give out to help support those ideas and move them along. We're going to do it again this year. The date is already set, November 11th. We're going to ask for people to think about applying, and we're going to have a little different format. We're going to have a set of challenges that we hope for college students to come and create teams and be there. And we hope that we've got a group of teams from people like you wanting to come and be part of that project again. Maine is a bright spot. It is a large part due to Slow Money Maine. We need your good ideas, new enterprises that are in common with creating a more vibrant Maine food system that honors healthy food, healthy communities, healthy farms, healthy soils. Let's make it happen. Thank you.